Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so we can continue this journey of resting with the Holy Spirit every night together. God bless you. The alarm went off at 5:47 in the morning, not 5:45, not 6 o'clock, 5:47, because that was the exact time Daniel Hayes had been waking up for the past 11 years, ever since the morning his mother had placed a worn leather Bible on his nightstand and whispered, "Give God the first moments of your day, son. Everything else will fall into place." He had not always listened to her. There were years, long, painful years, when Daniel had silenced the alarm, pulled the blanket over his head, and stumbled into his day like a man walking into a storm without a coat. Those were the years his marriage almost crumbled. Those were the years he lost the promotion he had worked a decade to earn. Those were the years he found himself sitting in his car in an empty parking lot, engine off, wondering why he felt so hollow despite having everything the world told him he should want. It was only when he lost his mother that something changed. The morning after her funeral, Daniel rose before the sun. He could not explain why. Grief had a strange way of cracking a person open, not breaking them, but creating space where there had been none before. He sat in the same armchair where his mother used to read, the house quiet except for the ticking of an old clock on the mantel, and he opened her Bible to where the bookmark had been left. Psalm 46:10. "Be still and know that I am God." He read it once, then again, then a third time, slowly, as though each word were a door he was being invited to walk through. He had always been a man of motion, of calendars and meetings and deadlines and outcomes. Stillness had felt to him like failure, like wasted time, like something reserved for people who had given up. But that morning, with the grief sitting heavy in his chest and the dark world outside slowly warming to gold, Daniel Hayes sat still. And for the first time in years, he felt something that was not quite peace, but was very close to its beginning. He started small, 5 minutes each morning, before coffee, before his phone, before the noise of the world could flood in and claim him. He would sit in that chair and he would pray, not eloquently, not with the polished, rehearsed words of a Sunday sermon. He prayed plainly in the language of a man who was tired and trying. "God, I don't know what today holds, but I'm asking you to walk with me through it. Give me peace where I am anxious. Give me strength where I feel weak. Help me to see people with kindness today, even when they are difficult. And help me remember that I'm not doing this alone." That was it. Some mornings he added more. Some mornings he simply sat in silence after those words, letting them settle like dust after a storm, trusting that being heard did not always require more words. His wife Miriam noticed first. "You seem different," she said one evening over dinner, about 3 weeks into his new routine. She was watching him carefully, the way you watch a familiar sky that has begun to change color. Lighter, somehow, like something has been lifted. Daniel smiled. "I've been listening before I start my day," he said, "before anything else gets a chance to speak first." It is a strange and underappreciated truth that the first voice you hear in the morning shapes the tenor of everything that follows. Most people wake up and immediately hand that first quiet hour over to the world. They check their phones before their feet hit the floor. They scroll through news designed to provoke, notifications demanding response, voices competing for attention. By the time they finish their first cup of coffee, they have already absorbed a dozen anxieties that were never theirs to carry. Daniel had done this too, for most of his adult life. He had wondered why he arrived at work already exhausted, already defensive, already bracing for a fight no one had yet picked with him. He had not realized that he had been handing the steering wheel of his morning to forces that did not love him, did not know him, and did not have his peace as any part of their agenda. Prayer changed that. Not because prayer was magic, not because every morning brought some mystical experience that dissolved all difficulty. Some mornings Daniel sat in his chair and felt nothing at all, just a man in a quiet room, talking into the dark, wondering if anything was listening. But he kept showing up, because his mother had taught him that faith was not a feeling. Faith was a practice. Faith was what you did when the feeling was gone. 6 months after his mother's passing, Daniel was called into his supervisor's office. He walked down the corridor with his hands loose at his sides, his breathing slow. A year ago, that walk would have been a march of anxiety. He would have spent the previous night running through every possible mistake he might have made, every failure that could be surfaced, every outcome to be feared. But that morning, he had prayed. Whatever I face today, let me face it with courage. Let me not be afraid of hard conversations. Let me remember that my worth is not determined by the outcome of any meeting. His supervisor, a tall, measured woman named Carol, looked up when he entered. "Sit down, Daniel," she said. Her expression gave nothing away. He sat. "We've been watching you," she began, folding her hands on the desk. "For a while now, actually. Something has shifted in you this year. You're calmer in conflict. You handle pressure differently. People trust you in a way they didn't before." She paused. "We'd like to offer you the regional director position." It was the role he had lost years ago, the one he had grieved for months, the one he had eventually surrendered to God in a quiet moment of morning prayer, saying, "If it is meant for me, it will come, and if not, help me to be at peace with what is." He thanked her. He did not cry until he reached the parking lot. There is a particular kind of strength that does not look like strength from the outside. It does not roar or flex or prove itself in any visible arena. It is the strength of the person who pauses before responding in anger, the strength of the one who chooses not to escalate, not to wound, not to repay unkindness with unkindness. It is a quiet, deep, rooted strength, the kind that does not snap under pressure because its roots go far deeper than the surface. Morning prayer built that kind of strength in Daniel. Not overnight, not in a single season, but slowly, the way a tree grows, invisibly at first, and then unmistakably. He became a man who listened well because he had practiced listening. He became a man of patience because he had spent years practicing stillness. He became a man who could hold grief and joy at the same time because morning by morning he had learned to hold both, bringing whatever was real in him to God, without pretense, without performance, and trusting that he was received. His daughter, Emma, was 14 when she first asked him about it. She had wandered downstairs one Saturday morning earlier than usual, drawn by some quiet instinct, and found her father sitting in the armchair in the half-lit living room, eyes closed, lips barely moving. She stood in the doorway for a long moment before he opened his eyes. "Dad," she said quietly, "what are you doing?" "Praying," he said. "What do you pray about?" He thought for a moment. "Everything," he said. "I thank God for what I have. I ask for help with what I can't handle alone. I try to be honest about how I'm feeling, and then I just listen for a little while." She was quiet. Then, "Does it help?" "Every single day," he said. She came down the next Saturday, and the one after that. She didn't pray out loud, not at first. She just sat near him in her own silence in the particular peace that settles over a house before the rest of the world wakes up. But Daniel noticed that she, too, began to carry herself differently, a little more grounded, a little less shaken by the turbulence that is, inevitably, the weather of being 14. One morning she said very quietly, "I think I've been giving the first part of my day to things that make me feel bad about myself." "A lot of us do," her father said. "How do you stop?" "You start giving it to something else," he said. "Something that tells you the truth about who you are." The practice of morning prayer is not the property of any single tradition, though it runs through nearly all of them like a golden thread. The monks who rose before dawn for matins, the mystics who sought silence before speech, the ordinary faithful across centuries and continents who understood instinctively that the morning was sacred ground, that the first hour of a day could sanctify everything that followed if it were given wisely. Modern life has not changed this need. It has simply buried it under more noise. We are more connected than any generation before us and, by some accounts, more anxious, more distracted, more hollow in our busyness. We have outsourced the morning to our devices and wonder why we feel owned by forces we cannot see and did not choose. Morning prayer is a form of reclamation. It says, Before the world speaks, I will speak to God. Before the noise begins, I will sit in the quiet. Before I give my energy away, I will first receive what only stillness can give. Daniel Hayes is not a saint. He is not a pastor or a theologian or a man with any particular spiritual credential. He is a man who lost his mother, and in that loss, found her greatest gift to him. Not the Bible she left on his nightstand, but the practice she modeled every morning of her life, in the same chair, with the same faithfulness, regardless of what the night before had held. He wakes at 5:47 still. He sits in the chair, he breathes, he prays. God, thank you for this morning, for the breath in my lungs and the people in my life. I don't know what today holds, but I'm asking you to go before me. Give me peace where I am anxious. Give me strength where I feel weak. Help me to love people well today, even when it costs me something. And help me remember, through every hard moment, every uncertainty, every place where I feel like I am not enough, that I am not walking through this alone. Then he listens. The house is quiet. The world is still turning itself toward light. Somewhere, a bird begins to sing. And Daniel Hayes rises from the chair, ready. Not because he has been promised an easy day, but because he has been equipped for a real one.